criteria we used on these. So the way it's set up is for a higher ranking, it's not just the effectiveness of the tactic, potentially, it's how applicable is it across different niches. So
Mhm.
a tactic that is really good for a local business and also a large B2B SaaS company should get extra points in our judgment based on if there's some tactics I know are incredibly powerful for, let's say, the e-commerce or law firm spaces that are very specific to those, maybe wouldn't apply to an enterprise company that'll be recognized but demerited a little bit.
Awesome.
Cool. So with that, let's start from the top. Let's see how we like. Let's look at, there we go. So starting from the top, let's look at glossary pages. So building out large sets of definitional keyword pages, capture what is keyword traffic at scale. This works especially well in technical or jargon-heavy industries, and each page targets a single term and links back to a related product or service page. I'll go first. I'll say I'd probably be between A and a B here. Maybe a low A is where I lean. But have you used glossary pages in the past, Marcus?
I have, and I would put them in the same place. A to B, it's largely overlooked, and a lot of people just, no pun intended, gloss over glossaries. But with that, I mean, it can be highly effective, especially if you have that jargon heavy industry. And with AEO, it is beneficial to get deeper in the weeds on some of these industry jargons. And yeah, so let's do B tier for me.
Yeah, I agree on B tier because the only time I've ever used these really effectively have been in B2B SaaS land. And yeah, it's really only been SaaS companies I've seen them effective in. And I would say they actually get a little bit of a demerit recently because with the shift to the AI engines, the glossary pages just don't seem to be nearly as impactful anymore because people aren't looking. There's much less traffic to pages with informational terms versus if it's a much higher intent query, you'd be more likely to get traffic. But yeah, glossaries have definitely lost some steam. Right. Self-promotional listicles. So we've all seen these. It's the best or the top 10, insert your keyword here, list for insert your industry or use case here. So, your top 10 B2B SaaS companies or B2B SaaS agencies, or your top 10 AEO softwares for marketing agencies. I will, these get a lot of flack online, and this is a place I've had many conversations not go well when I was an in-house marketer, trying to pitch self-promotional listicles all the time. But the fact is they were extremely effective 5 years ago, and I would argue they're even more effective now in the AEO world. So for me, these go into S tier.
So, well, we have our first little disagreement. I don't disagree they're effective and even more effective now, but I'm going to put them in C tier for situational because they can be incredibly powerful, but they come across as super spammy if you don't actually put the work into them. Like if you're just spamming these out really quickly, that can get lost in the noise. And if somebody actually lands on that page, it needs to be written well, but they can be incredibly effective, just like you said.
I do agree with that, and you often see these done in a spammy way. It takes a lot of effort to make them different enough. Certainly at scale, it takes a lot of effort to differentiate them enough in between posts. So you're saying B, I said S. I do like how that lands in the middle there on the AEO side because I do think you're right. I think it's an S tier tactic when done right, but it does seem to be very difficult for people to do right, and it's not what you see more than the common.
Yeah, and for me, if we use them, we've had a lot of great success with them. But I'm afraid if we tell everybody just to go write a whole bunch of these, they'll miss that context part, and then it may kind of hurt their brand a little bit. But definitely a powerful tool.
Yeah, and maybe I'll add a note there on something I've been doing more recently that is really effective for self-promotional listicles, but also doesn't seem to cause any problems with leadership because you don't mention your competitors is if you sell an actual product or service, but you have a range of them, then you can say, for example, let's say an e-commerce company that sells supplements. They might say the best creatine supplements for weightlifters. Well, they don't have to mention other different competitors. They could just mention their own creatine products. They could say this creatine product is the best for weightlifters. This creatine product is the best for women, and whatever other niches they want to do there.
No, I agree with that, and there's a couple of added benefits for that as well. When you use that like best creatine for women, like you referenced, you could tie that into that deeper specific use case, and that can really help you in those AEO prompt responses as well. And yeah, no, I agree. They can be really good, and I've had a lot of clients, they respond a lot better to that. And plus, it's interesting. So when, say, ChatGPT recommends something, it's normally saying, this is your best option. This is, and I think there's some added, maybe tack on benefit to that as well, if done well.
That leads well right into the direct comparison pages. So instead of maybe a best CRM software for SaaS companies, it's now a literal one brand versus this brand. So let's say Carrot versus Profound would be a common template if we were trying to capture some of that traffic. These have gone up in my book. So my old playbook really used to revolve around the self-promotional listicles, where you do the research on these competitors. Once you've done the research on those competitors, now you just take that and represent it in a much more direct comparison way, but with a smaller number of competitors. And then all those link back to the main self-promotional listicle. And that was a very common playbook where, okay, you have one big listicle. Let's say you've chosen 5 competitors, compare them there. Now you have at least, you can do 5 different combinations of comparisons within that.
Yeah, no, I agree. They're very effective, but see, I would have to put them as a B, only because when you try to pitch that's a harder pitch to make to your clients. They may be concerned for legal, like direct comparison with a competitor, and especially if you're wanting to include price. No one likes, if you're not a e-commerce business, no one likes to list actual prices on there. So we have gotten a little pushback there, but we've seen great performance when we can get buy-in on the client side there.
The legal aspect is the most common pushback I hear on this tactic, and I don't want to be dismissive of that, but just out of curiosity, have you ever heard of any kind of legal case that came from, somebody saying something wrong about another competitor on a landing page?
So I guess we're getting into the spicy, but what I feel is true takes. No, I've never heard of anything like that. We get that concern a lot, but I've never seen it actually come up. The only thing we've ever run into like that is ADA compliance and making sure people are making inclusive websites, but never just for direct competitor reference.
Yeah. The worst real pushback I've ever gotten there is I did it for several SaaS telecom companies a while back, and a very small provider in Australia who I included on my list and actually was very complimentary towards and recommended them as a best option for certain Australian businesses. He did seem to be annoyed that anybody was even mentioning his name elsewhere. So I remember we got a lot of emails from him, and that sort of spooked the CEO at the time. But yeah, I've never heard of any actual legal repercussions from this tactic. So,
which is really interesting, because if you're a smaller company, you're probably going to get far more benefit out of being linked in one of these articles than not being linked at all or mentioned.
That's right. I got to add another note here that you're saying B, I lean towards S. I wish we had a high A I could select here, but maybe we'll come back to that, because no, actually I think A is good, because although I was going to say AEO is suddenly favoring this tactic way more.
Absolutely.
So an example being, I have one direct comparison with one of our competitors on our site. That page is nowhere close to our top 5 organic traffic post. So as far as Google search traffic coming to it, not our top 5. it is number one by a landslide, not even close, doesn't even compare to our homepage in AI citations and AI traffic.
Well, and I think that's largely due to the fact that if you look at an AI response that it gives back, it loves making those direct comparisons itself, like this versus this, those comparison tables. And so when you're giving it the information that it already likes to output in that format, we found it does quite well in AI responses.
Agreed. So let's look at location pages. So city, region, specific landing pages, to rank for blank service in blank city. Often they'll embed a Google Maps. They'll include location specific information. Uh, a tactic I don't think is that effective, but you still see it done all over the place from old world SEO, is people will often have links to things to do in a city, or the local government addresses of the city, just trying to add relevance to them, to that page for a city. But I really like these, just tailoring them to a actual product or service. Uh, a service area is a common way to frame it, but you've got to, in my opinion, you just have to differentiate more than just the word of the cities. You have to go out there and, for telecom, I used to mention specific area codes in areas. I used to mention the top cities of a state if I'm talking about a state. If I'm talking about a city specifically, you mentioned some of the neighborhoods in that city. There's lots of ways to differentiate enough. One other one being maybe making sure, even if it's the same image per page, re-upload it, change the meta. How do you feel about location pages, Marcus?
So I think they're incredibly effective. I would put them at an A just because it's going to drive a lot more benefit to more service-based industries, but there's still a benefit for overall sites as well. And I agree, just lazily putting, oh, here's all the zip codes and everything else, like that's not going to give you that same benefit. However, what we've been doing, you mentioned neighborhoods. We've been creating, especially for some of our senior living clients, neighborhood hub pages, because what we found is AEO, for a lot of their authority metrics, they look towards local search results and your local relevance. And that's why, say Gemini just has a fit when you're using a VPN. I think that's a great related example there. But what we do, so we talk about their services, where they're located, the neighborhood in which it is located. And we also include things like, hey, what's the nearest either transit stop or major highway? We do include things to do like, hey, it's within walking distance of this park. But the key is, and I think this is a recurring theme as we're talking about, it's also how you do it. Both traditional Google search and these AI engines, they're smart enough to see when you're naturally incorporating something into a page and when you're just like jamming those in there. And I think that is the key difference there. We've seen a lot of success doing it that way, but we're also very intentional in how we phrase that. We're not just putting all those things randomly on the page, but integrating them naturally into the sentence. But we've seen some nice jumps from that.
So I've never heard it framed like a neighborhood hub page. Could you describe maybe like an example?
Yeah, for example, so if we have a multi-location senior living community, for example, so we take that location, look at its surrounding neighborhoods. What are the actual neighborhood names? Including that and walking through the services they offer. And then you can start talking about, say, that particular location or campus, to use their terminology, and start talking about the surrounding area. Is it beautiful? Does it have parks? What are the nearest transit things? Because when somebody searches in AI or traditional search for assisted living, generally you have the child that is now an adult and the caregiver. So they're not just looking for assisted living. They're going to search something more like, especially in something like ChatGPT. Hey, I have my father is 72. He is still mobile, but we're getting to the point where we need some additional help. What are the best assisted living opportunities near me in this, or not, or near, let's just say Boston, that also have these amenities or in this price range? That allows you to hit a lot of those qualifiers within a page. Yeah, so we build that out, and then we end with a call to action and links to the service pages that it's referenced, location page, and the contact page as well.
So you're focusing on details that actually might factor into the decision. So it's a senior living a facility, but let's say there's a park nearby. Obviously, there's no monetary product for you related to the park, but maybe people are searching for facilities that are near a park or near a walkable, have some kind of walkable environment around it, or near a church or near restaurants. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah, so we're actually approaching it from a couple of different angles. So for one thing, something like assisted living, that's a huge decision, right? Like where to place your loved one. There's a lot of bad facilities and a lot of good ones. So that can be the qualifier. So we're both writing it for people to tie to their searches in general and provide that additional context that helps them make that decision. But also we found that answer engines like Claude or Gemini, they respond really well to building out and you having that additional information. We find local authority being really a game changer for increasing your AI mentions as well. So there's
yes.
Yeah, and that allows us to do several things with one tactic. And anytime it seems like we can unify or accomplish several objectives with one strategy, it's very helpful. It's tweaked and you get further down, but you want everything telling that same story, because really the way we explain AI search for clients, it's like PR for your business, but for the entire internet. It's making sure everything, your directory listings, I know we'll talk about those a little bit later, but making sure everything's telling that same story. What makes you unique? And that's really the benefit that I think a lot of people are missing with AI search is you can really talk more than just your services, but what makes you different? What makes you the thing that Claude should recommend or Gemini should recommend? It's not, if you're all offering assisted living, skilled nursing, why should it recommend you? Things like beautiful parks, walkable city, those become the deciding factor that gets you cited first.
Big time. Could not agree more. Let's see. So let's put location pages. Where do you have those? I have them in, I would have them in A tier still.
Yeah, I think A is good. They're solid, but they're going to drive more value for certain industries.
But then again, I'm trying to, where do we not do those? Because even the big ones, they do seem to be,
Still
push back, actually. I think we should put an S because of AEO now too. I think AEO is favoring location-based searches as well.
So even when someone doesn't have an actual physical office location, we've still been creating these and seeing a lot of value from it for AEO. So
all right, these are going
our
S
first
tier
S
then.
tier then.
All right, our first S tier, location pages. Programmatic SEO. I think one of your favorite words.
It is, but here's the thing. I'm going to be a little bit contrarian here. I'm going to put this as risky though. If you get it right, it's great. It allows you to scale. If you get it wrong, it can screw your strategy big time and you not realize it, especially if you're doing this at scale. If you don't catch that mistake in your setup, in your template early, you've now duplicated that across multiple pages on your website. And you have to be very intentional. Like you can do a location page with programmatic building out your same, but you need to do a lot of front end work to make sure it's, test runs, make sure it's pulling in accurate data for some of these. Hey, how far is it from the nearest hospital? But yeah, it can work really well if you do it right, but it can seriously derail you and your strategy if you do it wrong.
Yeah, I've always liked programmatic SEO as a piece of pages on large websites, meaning I like global boilerplates, editable templates for certain rows or sections. I think as soon as you start having full on program, like every single element of a page is attached to a database somewhere and a controller somewhere, what you're saying, you're going to make mistakes and then you're going to multiply those tenfold. And it's going to be really, really, really difficult to consistently convince the algorithms that these are unique pages and they are actually been, not just auto-generated. And I think it's gets really tough on the people side too, because people can tell, and if the fact is real writing does convert better. If people feel like there's an actual person behind the pen, then they're going to convert much better.
And I think we can go beyond that. Well-written, real content also ranks better.
Yeah.
So we were talking about they can do that better. And so, yeah, absolutely. And plus, if you're not really careful, you can very easily run into duplicate or similar content issues and get flagged for that. Especially, there are too many fail points for that for me. But you like aspects.
Agreed. So I'm thinking C tier here.
I think that's good.
Bam. All right, I'm going to jump around a bit. Let's hit some black hats. PBN private blog network. Build or buy a network of sites that exist solely to link back to your money site. Classic black hat. Google penalizes when caught. Some swear it still works. And this is the SEO fight club where if it is working, then nobody's talking about it.
See,
what do you think of PBNs?
See, the thing with this, and this is why we don't really do black hat SEO. You may have, there's a real potential gain, right? But we ask this, is that gain more than you could do by just doing the right things, building that infrastructure and scaling? And also it's, hey, here's your potential gain. Here's your potential manual action from Google that just demolishes you. My favorite example is, and it's probably been over 5 years ago now, JCPenney did a lot of these type of things, a big company, and they got to #1 for dress searches, right? And they were there for a few weeks. But then they got a manual action. They dropped down to page 10, basically like they did not exist in some days. So for me, I'm going to put this at an F. It may still work, but the risk reward for me just isn't there.
Yeah. I want to put it at F because it does not apply to any niche I am.
Yeah.
I would maybe say D because, again, niches I don't recommend anybody work in, but and I don't work in, but if you're in maybe a highly regulated gray area legality niche, then PBNs might become very effective for you because it just might be, there might be a lot of friction up front in getting proper vetted links, proper PR early on. And if you're absolutely in a pinch and you have to make some money, you have to move some product, you have to get results, but you're in a tough niche, I can see that, but I don't like being in those niches. I don't recommend people support those niches. So
if you're starting up and you got to make a lot of gain quickly, I agree with that. But yeah, if you're an established brand that's just trying to grow, not worth it.
Yeah. Cloaking as a black hat. So this is well, it says showing search engines different content than what users see. I would say, so search engines just see a big string of code.
Mm-hmm.
And so cloaking might include, the old black hat way might have been having a white background and then also white text saying your keyword over and over and over again. That was actually a way people would spam this maybe 12 years ago. Now it's more like naming a row, like assigning an HTML tag to a row that contains a keyword, let's say, or having the keywords over optimized in images, perhaps. I think that would be cloaking. How do you see cloaking, and do you guys kind of what are some sneaky things you do to get your keyword count up?
See, with that, I think, of course, we're not as exciting for cloaking, but I will say you did mention images. So it's really interesting. Alt text was always important. You were talking about adding in keywords there, but purely from hey, you got a bump from Google for doing the right thing, making it more accessible for website readers. But with AEO, there's definitely an opportunity. There's been a lot of benefit with writing longer, more detailed alt text posts. You can sneak an extra keyword or two in there, but I would say you just have to be careful now. Like, especially with AEOs, like they're smart, they're AIs. As it gets more and more data, it's harder to kind of fake this or like just change the wording or the spelling. I think this can be effective, but I think that it's going to have diminishing returns as we get smarter and smarter algorithms because it's able to pick these up more. But that being said, there are different ways. There's a lot of ways just to get your point across, reinforce that focus keyword for the page within the copy, just with related keywords, similar keywords. There's a lot that you can do and do it in a natural way. But what about you, Connor? What tricks do you have up the sleeve for this?
I'm big on the HTML code. So I do like, especially if you're in a WordPress environment or like Elementor or any of the page builders.
Yeah.
Usually you can click the whole row and they'll give you an option to assign like a CSS class or a div tag or some kind of HTML tag to it. I love adding in, let's say I'm making a page for AEO software or AEO reporting software. I will have the different rows labeled with realistically what they're talking about, but I'll add in more context. So maybe one row is about AEO reporting software API, AEO reporting software custom pricing. Talking about whatever that row is talking about, but it just appears in the back-end code. It's just one extra use of the keyword and one more unusual place that Google is going to count.
So is that Black Hat SEO, or is that just doing good developing, Connor? Like just naming the section what it is. See, that's where, yeah.
Sorry, yeah. I mean, I think that's a classic question, right? It's like, is it Black Hat? Like, what's not Black Hat if you really break it down, right? If we're trying to manipulate the algorithms, it gets tough. But now that being said, I would say if I saw the text on the white text on white background, yeah, that's spammy. Don't at me. But if we keep the div tags, I would say it's still good. But again, this is a extra 10% little boost, like once you've done the credentials, or once you've done the main.
So with that, are you tying that with an HTML sitemap as well, or are you just sticking just to traditional sitemaps when you utilize this?
Traditional sitemaps. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. So let's do cloaking in. I'll give it D. Common spam. I don't even feel like we need to take time on this.
I think that's straight F, right?
Straight F. That's right. As soon as I see any web page with those two, I just leave. All right, let's do one more Black Hat. How do we feel about negative SEO? So build spammy backlinks to a competitor website, hoping that Google penalizes them. Ethically bankrupt and effectiveness is debatable. It's the dark side of the force.
Well, I think your description just answered my question for me. But with that, I almost wouldn't utilize this because it's so easy for them to do the same thing to you.
That's right.
Very little effort that I just can't see a lot of benefit long term for this for me.
100% agreement with you. I would much rather focus on building up something positive on my end that's stronger than trying to tear down others. That's just a good moral base to start from. But then also, to your point, yeah, why would they not just target you back? As soon as they find out you're the one doing this, you're begging for retribution.
And plus, it's such low effort to like retaliate to, right? Like it's not something you'd have to spend weeks doing. You could do it really quickly. So definitely agree there.
Yeah, and every minute you're spending trying to take down your competitors is another minute you're not spending on your own website, your own product. So that's going to go straight to F.
All right.
All right, let's get to some of the fun stuff again. We got a couple minutes here, and then maybe we'll do a part 2 of this. Well, free tool pages. So building a calculator, a grader, a generator, a checker of some kind. So a common one right now is people looking for free AEO website checker or free query fan out Chrome extension are common ones. Do you guys, I know you all have a lot of B2B customers too. Do you mess around with the free tool pages?
We have, depending on the client. For me though, I think it can be really good for attracting links and really just building brand awareness. I think it can be very effective. It can be high effort, right? Like for your team to do, but it can also be potentially high reward as well. But for us, we've approached this a little bit different. I've actually been telling people like on their website itself, it's not exactly free tool, but it's related to stop basically gating all their PDFs as much.
Yes.
Because that's a missed opportunity in AEO as well. So that's just more, it tends to be deeper, more technical content that ranks well. So in a lot of ways, we've been telling people to do the different. And it's funny though, you mentioned free tools, free scan. I mean, we're in SEO or AEO. There's always been get your free site scan here. What we actually do, clients, it can change either way, but I'll actually tell you, it's Cintiq internally. We don't do that as much, but we have the, hey, get in touch with us because we find we can provide more value with just talking to people. Like instead of just giving them a quick, bland 5-minute best practices like scorecard, right? for Google PageSpeed and the rest, actually being able to, hey, we had initial conversation, we know what your pain points are. I can do a much better audit depending on where you are and where you want to go than I can just doing a simple scan of your website. I don't think that necessarily provides a lot of value, but in certain industries, I think it definitely can be helpful. So
Yeah, my thought is if you're in SaaS or finance, this has always been an S tier tactic.
yeah,
I would push it down to A or B because it is pretty specific on niches sometimes. It's also, like I said, it's kind of been gate kept for a long time because it required developers, dedicated people to watch it. You have to have a marketing person who sees the need for the tool as well as a developer who can execute it and maintain it. That's actually been a pretty rare combination, but I want to push that up now because AI bots and assistants coming out has really killed that moat that developers had. So like this gatekeeping, not that developers were like trying to gatekeep their skills, but that was always a huge problem. Is you want to make something interactive, you want to build something for people as a marketer, you need someone technical to help you. It costs $5,000, $10,000 just to get them to look at some code or look at it or to do a proposal for it. So I'm going to actually, I'll say A tier because I think this is becoming much more accessible to the common person.
Yeah, and I think that's a great idea. I was actually talking to a developer, and they were saying some of these AI tools are great for building like the lattice, the foundation for your code, your thing, and then you can bring in that developer, just take a look and say if you need anything specific from there or to double check. But yeah, I think the barrier for entry is definitely improving, and so yeah, I can agree. As, or would you put A tier?
I put it A tier, yeah.
Yeah, I
It
think
is, there's if you're running a senior living facility or any kind of like local hospitality business, are there really any free tools that you can build for that? So I think it is pretty niche, but
yes, but we run into the thing I talked about earlier. A cost calculator is great. The problem is there are so many variables, like what level of care, what's the availability, that it makes it a little bit harder to do there. So I think the benefit and the opportunities there across industries is just how do you tailor that to be effective with the tools you have. I think it's really the limiting factor for this. So I agree A tier though.
Well, actually, now that you say that, there's not a single niche that I don't recommend people post content about pricing in. So
That's
I'm
the hardest
tempted to
conversation though.
Sorry?
I was like, that's kind of the hardest conversation to have with the client though.
Yeah.
Like no
I
one
want to push this up then though. Let's go S tier on free tools.
Let's be brave.
Yeah, encourage people to actually try to build something valuable.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's pause there for today, and I'll do something with these videos. And can we schedule a part 2 of this?
Yeah, I mean, as long as you didn't think I sucked, too bad. Yeah, let's do a part 2.
No, I think it's gonna be really good clips, man. This is great. Let's let me grab your schedule while you're here.
See now I just want to look at all your black hat days. The domain purchasing I was big on. So stupid easy back in the day.
I know. I still agree with that. That's still sometimes valuable, but I've been really pleasantly surprised with how it's actually not that hard to like start a business and get it trusted by Google. Now I realize.
Yeah, just doing the basic stuff right, which everyone wants to gloss over, helps a lot. Plus, buy all the versions of your name. That's the cheapest insurance you can buy for your business right there.
Big time. So I'm fairly open on Wednesday. I'm wide open Thursday. I'm pretty free on Friday too.
You were speaking of developers, bringing on some contractors. We just brought on a guy who does SEO, but he's a full stack engineer as well. So I'm gonna see what cool things we can develop there.
Oh yeah.
So I've got Thursday. So you're on what? Eastern?
Yeah.
What about 3 p.m. Eastern on Thursday?
That's fantastic. All right, let's do SEO plus.
Tomorrow's pretty brutal. I have 7 meetings.
Jesus, man. Are they all 1 hour? Or are they 30 minutes, any of them?
Mostly 30 minutes, but it always goes on. Yeah. We're definitely in crunch over here. It's a good thing, but yeah. When I said everybody's only wanting SEO or AEO, I wasn't just saying woe with me. It's wild the kind of built-in demand there is in the market right now.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Yeah, I want to go ahead. I realized yesterday I should just I'm actually going to start building AEO, GEO. I'm going to build a couple services pages since we are ranking, and I figure, okay, well, we'll build a service page and just go ahead and have that go direct into some kind of flow with you guys and other partners.
I just added one to our site like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like we were getting all that and didn't even have one. I was like, that's wild.
Also, I added 2 pages in the last 2 weeks. I added an agency page and I added a AEO reporting page. And
the AEO reporting.
Oh my gosh, just from those two, we the amount of leads we're getting from actual agencies, like our specific ICP, has gone way up. And I actually think most of them are from the reporting page versus the agency page.
I'll tell you, well, it's funny because Profound seems like they're doing the EX thing without doing the groundwork that EX did to kind of be like the default thing. Like very expensive, like, oh, we're the only option, but like
Actually, there's so many options, yeah.
Also, have you ever heard of Netlify?
Neglify?
No, Netlify.
Netlify, no.
So can I share in this? Do you know?
Mm-hmm.
How do I share?